And on the eighth day, the goddess made GynCorp. A short story by Eva Castor, read by Eva Castor. In the dream, she was at the park near the St. Louis Arch with her grampy. He was buying her a red balloon from a funny man who was dressed in a bright yellow suit. The man in the suit had many balloons of all colors, but the one she coveted had a long silver ribbon attached to it. The ends of the ribbon had been curled up tightly like a piglet's tail, probably with scissors, just like her mummy had done at Christmas time. The chief, in the dream she was still known by her old name, Martha, wanted the red balloon with the curly silver ribbon with all her heart. She tilted her head up to look at her grampy's well-lined face, but he stood so tall above her that the sun broiled a saint's halo of light around him, and she couldn't make out any of his ancient features. She was so happy in the dream. The park was lush and moist, carpeted in an ocean of thick green grass that was peppered with tiny white and pink daisies. In the distance, colorful blankets were laid out for picnics and sunbathing, and here and there nuclear families of 4 or 5 played in the sun. Her grampy gave the funny man 3 coins for the balloon, and then the man began to work on untangling the mass of ribbons he had clenched in his fist. She waited for the curled silver ribbon and its captive, the red balloon, to pass from the funny man to her grampy and then to her. She stood patiently, with her eyes shut tightly against the stunning sunshine. Instead of the balloon, though, and in just an instant, the big wasps came out on a wicked sortie, hunting for the sweet candy cotton residue she had gotten all over her face. The wasps, they buzzed and buzzed and buzzed, and then, in an instant of recognition, she was awake and grabbing the shrilly buzzing telecom from the top of the wooden crate she used as a night table. "Yeah?" she croaked through a desert-dry mouth. "What is it?" "Hi, honey chief, it's your fuzzy bear." "Delilah, cut it out. Don't make me tell you again." Goddess, she was tired. She had just broken Proto by calling Delilah Tampson, Gyn First Class, Delilah. She felt a quick sting of anger at herself for allowing the romance to blossom, but Delilah had been insistent, the close quarters making for skin-on-skin contact on more than one occasion. The truth was, Delilah's sly grins of playful lust had aroused her, and it was nice not to be alone for a change. Gathering her thoughts, she barked, "Use protocol first, Tamsin. The OF and PH have been hacking into the cyber line since June. Keep it clean. Now go. What is it?" "We got him, Chief." The teasing flirtation was all gone. In its place, the tone of distilled military comms, flat and lifeless. "When?" She was fully awake now, legs swung out and feet on the floor. She grabbed for her shoes at the end of the bed. "Oh, 8:40. Where?" "West Nest, angle B." "How is he?" she asked, concealing the glimmer of hope she was feeling. They needed a win. "No good." "Copy that." No good was no good. Suddenly the chief's head throbbed, and the black dog of depression whined loudly in her ears. Just another day at the office. "I'll be up in 2. Routes on, please, First Tamsin." "Copying out, Chief." The telecom unit went dead. No good was no good. Another mouth to feed, more shit to shovel. Another porner to go to work in the laundry, if they were lucky. Still, it was one less man on the neurals. Maybe it would save a Gyn down the road. Her troop had moved into new territory on an offensive mission to get 3 young Gyns out of the St. Louis porn studios, and they were still looking for 2 of the Gyns. The one they had found was in bad shape, but she was expected to live. The crumbling city had its ebb and tide of territorial battles. When the GynCorps weren't in town, the porn hunters, both the OF and the PH, came for what families remained intact in the old suburban neighborhoods. Chesterfield, Clayton, Brentwood, all were hanging on by a prayer. Mothers and daughters hid out in root cellars and hot attic rooms, while their men's, those who were not on the network, not yet anyway, went to work at the dumps and pumps which kept the roads passable and the lights on. GynCorp Unit 2 were temporarily bunked in what remained of the old city's downtown core. The block they were headquartered in had been part of the old Chinatown until the OF and PH neurals took over the urban men's. That was when things had gone from bad to worse. Chinatown had been empty for years. The char siu barbecue glazed ducks that used to hang from long metal hooks in grocery store windows existed only in the memories of a few long-lived grannies and grampies now. The chief's unit of 6 first-class Gyns were bunking in a falling-down storehouse that somehow still smelled of jasmine rice and five-spice. She had made a little love nest, against protocol to be sure, in the subcellar of the building, and it was this subterranean hideaway that she rose up from. Good as her word, she was brushed, dressed, locked and loaded, and upstairs at the improvised comm table in just 2 minutes. "Chief on deck," Delilah said when she saw her freckled face now a mask of total remoteness. Was Delilah angry at the dressing down she'd gotten after she'd called her "Honey Chief"? It seemed like it. Oh well, there's no time to worry about that. They had all signed up for the GynCorp, and they all knew the rules, and they had this freshly caught porner to deal with. "Okay, tell me," she said, while taking the offered cup of dandelion tea. "It's not OF, it's PH. That's pretty bad, Chief. We checked his memories, and he has no mother, never mind Granny." Chief sucked her teeth and said, "Sweet Maria. No mother. What a fucking money this is." "Did you run the neural screen?" "Not me," Delilah answered. "First Jax did it, and she didn't see anything other than incest and throttle porn. But—" she paused here and swallowed hard. "There was a lot of it." The chief took a sip from her cup, an old blue and white Chinese rice bowl they had scavenged from the basement. "He was hungry for the juice, which was how we got him in the end. We put a Hester Prinogram out, and he came sweet as a bee to honey." "Incest porn," the chief said. "You said he didn't remember his mother." "Affirmative, Chief. But he had two sisters, and he was fluent in San Fran anime ornographic gaming, so he saw a lot of incest content before his nuclear family got dissed out to Altamore." "That's just great." The chief took 2 quick sips of the now lukewarm dandelion root tea. Goddess, but wasn't her mouth dry this evening? She wondered if she was coming down with something. "What's the calm from the laundry? Any room at the sinks?" "Affirmative. A porner checked out late this afternoon, so they've got a vacancy." Delilah broke off here, biting her lip hard before she continued with the bad news. "It was my brother," she said. Chief looked carefully at Delilah's face. The start of icy tears shone like long dead stars in her green eyes. "He didn't make it." "Sorry to hear that, First Tamsin." "Yeah," Delilah sighed, softening her posture a little. "Me too. But it was just too bad, and—" here her voice cracked with emotion, "and the neural porn network was just too deep. When he coded out and into memory, his main plant seized the cerebral cortex and disengaged life support. That was that." "So that was that," the chief echoed. The chief had seen it so many times. Men and boys planted into the neuroporn network, their basic functions, eating and breathing, shitting, pissing, and jacking off, were consented to and paid for by the Rothblatt's Harcus Foundation. When the GynCorp caught a porner and crippled the first or second neural plug, sometimes the OF or PH's operating system security bots caught on before you could save the man. Sometimes there was just nothing left to save. Dee's brother. There would be tears tonight. Putting down the tea, the chief changed the subject, speaking now with a fresh urgency. "Tell me more about this new intake. No mother. Does he recall a father?" Delilah shook her head and then quickly looked away, as if the dust motes swirling in the sunbeams that slid through the warehouse's filthy windows had called her name. The chief put the improvised tea bowl down on the comms table and then rubbed her hands vigorously over her shut eyes until a kaleidoscope of colorful patterns unfolded inside her head. The impulse to do this often struck her when things were going bad, a leftover from the days when the states had made the OF and PH illegal without age verification and parental permissions, and the men's had gone to war. She didn't remember much about the time before this, just a child's understanding of the concept that apples were red and cats weren't dogs. When the Harcus Foundation had subsumed the world's most powerful NGOs and declared the neuroporn to be a human right, the shit had hit the proverbial. "Well," Chief said, slapping her thighs to break the long silence between them, "what's the news from the midday patrol? Any sign of the two missing Gyns?" "We have a line on a porn sig that has 2 new hot ones, and we're pretty confident that's our gals. The sig is underground about 4 blocks from the arch. We figure it's an old parking garage from before the 15s. It's boarded up, but info shows heat in the west side. There are people in there, Chief, for sure." "What do you recommend, First Tamsin?" Delilah's blasé expression fell like a drawbridge whose chains had been cut unexpectedly. "Me, Chief?" she asked. "You," Chief answered, slowly nodding her head in affirmation. At this, Delilah snapped to attention and spoke in a brisk tone. Chief, I feel that we're currently understaffed for this mission. We got no recon on the parkade. Night's falling and the guys here are exhausted. If we can call in the 6th from Brentwood, we can recon at dawn and confirm the number of poroners in the building. If it is just the two guys being poor-napped, we'll be able to get a clearer picture of how many ograms we might need. And, here she paused and swallowed dryly again, and First Hennessy says she's worked out most of the bugs on the neuroporn EMP. She says it's almost ready to deploy, like maybe even tomorrow morning. The chief's face screwed up in disbelief. First Hampson, you're not still daydreaming about that, are you? I think First Hennessy had been ordered by HQ to drop it. There's no way to break the neuroporn link without hip notation and handhelds. Have you seen her today, Chief? Seen who? Catherine? Chief felt blood rush to her face, heating its surface so quickly that sweat beads rose on her upper lip. Why do you do that, First Tamsin? Why do you continue to break Proto when you know it endangers our mission? Delilah's face flushed with hot anger at this. How can you accuse me of breaking Proto when you make love to me every night? The room, colored now with diffused golden light from the golden hour, held them still as bees trapped in amber as they considered each other's words. Neither spoke for a long moment, and then First Hennessy came down from the warehouse's office, taking the steps 3 at a time. "What is it, First Hennessy?" Chief asked. Inside she cringed. She'd spoken far louder than she had intended, but Delilah's constant insubordination, as well as her valid point about their love-making, had eroded her sense of self-control. Her fists opened and rose palm side up to start to rub her eyes, but she caught the urge and shut it down before the firsts noticed. Or so she hoped. "I got it, Chief." Chief noticed that First Hennessy was sweating as well, but not from the stress of being illicit lovers who were in the midst of a possible breakdown and possible breakup. Hennessy raised her left arm, wiped the moisture off her forehead, and grinned. "I got the neuroporn full-scale EMP to flash stage. The only thing to do from here is to try it out and see if we can get the mens off the OF. And the pH, for that matter." She gulped a mouthful of air and then went on. "It's on like decong, Chief." And with that, Hennessy started to laugh until tears made salty rivers of joy down her cheeks. Delilah and Chief looked at each other, stunned. Then they looked back to Hennessy. The chief's voice dropped almost to a whisper, and then she softly said, "Catherine, what are you telling me?" "I'm telling you that it's the end, Chief."